Consumers are having increasing expectations of transparency, whether it's internally with the businesses they're dealing with, what the culture looks like of a business, which you're dealing with, Paris, or it's the supply chain, which Jessi, your business addresses, and how do you get transparency to consumers in the supply chain? So Jessi, I want to start with you. What do you think is the most important element of supply chain transparency that your businesses are helping give to consumers to enhance their brand value?
At Provenance, we're seeing a really increased demand for consumers to want to know more about the businesses they're buying products from. Essentially, like what's really going on inside the company. So what are the values of the business, but also what's the social and environmental impact, and kind of access to information that's really personal to their purchasing. So that could be something that matches their values, or even kind of the impact that product has on their body. So increasingly we're seeing consumers that want to buy vegan products, or they want to buy products that match a particular diet that they have. And so yeah, Provenance is just here to help companies open up all of that data and make that accessible to consumers.
Consumers really want to see that their value system aligns with the value system of the brand they're buying from. But internally, Paris as well, there's this big movement towards, really as a consumer, I want to know who I'm dealing with, what kind of organization am I dealing with, and what's the culture of that organization. And you've built your business around, We Love Work, around how to help businesses align their culture with their core values.
Absolutely.
This is a big challenge and a relatively new product. How are you doing that?
Companies talk about culture a lot. You know, we hear it a lot. It's not like a new idea per se. But, you know, traditionally it's kind of that fluffy thing that's really hard to quantify. But we've got a lot of psychological research and, you know, theories around workplace culture. And we decided that we'd build a product that would actually enable companies to accurately collect data in real time from their employees about what's actually going on in the organization, not just from top level down, not just from HR and what they you know, proclaim the culture is.
Not what's written on the wall.
Exactly.
What's actually going on.
Yeah, exactly. What's actually going on in the business at what we call at desk level. That's from the employees, because collectively it's their values, attitudes, behaviors that will make up the psychological, you know, experience that people are having within the workplace.
Businesses that are achieving that and following that program, what kind of brand uplift are they seeing in terms of consumer adoption of their product or sales conversions?
When you think about, you know, the fact that your culture can actually have an impact on, you know, customer acquisition and retention, and you now have the data to say, okay, well, we're actually seeing a lot of churn in our customer, you know, acquisition department. What's happening there? You now have the data through We Love Work to say, well, actually, it's because there's a misalignment with the core values of being, you know, customer driven or customer focused. We don't have enough people on the team that really truly believe in a customer focused culture, and therefore that could be a training piece or that could be a restructuring piece. But essentially, when you get that piece of the culture right, you're going to see it impact on your performance and on your engagement and, you know, on the general you know, consensus of the team. And
you're seeing it similarly, Jessi, in your business. You're seeing a significant demand actually from consumers that are looking for this visibility and transparency. What are the sort of statistics around that?
Unilever, who are one of our main clients, recently did a study kind of off the back of the rise of transparency, where they discovered that 72% of millennials really want to know information about the social and environmental impact of the products they buy, for example. And that's a key driver for trusting and choosing a brand, which is quite a shift from, you know, the days of advertising and brand building via kind of made up stories. People now are really interested to see the true story and want to know exactly who they're buying from.
And are businesses picking up on that? Is that driving the growth of Provenance?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So we're working with businesses of all sizes, but we're seeing some of our larger clients are really responding to lots of challenger brands that have come into the marketplace and are really differentiating on transparency. I mean, fundamentally, it's cheaper to tell a transparent story because you don't need to make up a whole kind of narrative about your business, right? You're just saying what's really happening inside the company. And so, yeah, lots of the big businesses we're working with are kind of working with us because they're like, hey, actually, we've got great culture inside our businesses and we're doing like fantastic stuff in our supply chain, but we're just not getting that to the point of sale.
Well, and when you're touching on something that is also very interesting that's related to both of your businesses is authenticity. This is one thing to talk about the supply chain and what's the inputs, but people want to know it's authentic, what they're being told. And similarly with culture, I mean, to the earlier, you could have it on the wall, but what is really going on inside? So how do you help your clients address that question of authenticity of what they're doing.
I think it's really interesting because you know, when you have an aspirational culture, that you go in and you think this is what we want to look like, but then you get the data that tells you otherwise, and it's quite interesting that, you know, clients can now see this and they can actually have a strategy to change it. But also, surprisingly, some areas of the business, they'll see differentiation in what they assume the culture was like,
right.
And that can also be of benefit. So I think it's about authenticity, and let's see what's working for us. Let's see what the kind of, I suppose, the core of our business is, and let's see how it aligns with the core values, rather than, you know, just like, you know, kind of forcing people to kind of conform to this, you know, vision of the company that's not really right.
And similarly, getting those inputs sorted out and transparency and authenticity around those has got to be a big challenge. So what's like the primary thing that you direct your clients to achieve that?
When we're working with clients, like we're not just trying to kind of help them to open the data and access the data from their supply chain, but we're also trying to help them get that data to where it actually matters, like at the point of sale, through plugins for e-commerce, and even being able to socialize that information, because I don't think transparency is a one-way just opening the door. I think it's also about a conversation. If people want to ask questions and know more, then you need to share more on that topic. So yeah, I mean, Provenance is set up as a software service to facilitate exactly that. So not just opening the data, but also getting shoppers to ask questions and to help essentially fuel a live flow of data from the supply chain and business to the shopper.